We have with us Dr. Naveen Budiantala, who is one of our professors of Operations Technology Management with us. Becky Weathering from Nike. We have Ben Berry from Airship Technologies, and then Kyle Jennings from Craft Brew Alliance. And they're going to share with you a little bit about what they do in the field, what that might mean for you, and start that initial professional conversation and connection. If you would please welcome our guest.
Good evening. How are you? Good? Okay. My name is Naveen Budiantala, and I'm an assistant professor in OTM. And the entire idea today is to explain actually what OTM means. So probably for a lot of you guys, accounting is self-explanatory. Finance, you understand at least what it involves. Economics, but not quite OTM, isn't it? So OTM stands for Operations and Technology Management. So it is kind of a hybrid program that we have. Traditionally, in universities, you'll find degrees in Operations Management or degrees in Information Technology. But we have a degree here which has been quite popular, and we have called it OTM, Operations and Technology Management. So somebody asks you what is OTM, you know the answer, right? Operations and Technology Management. So we have started this in 2008, and just about 4 years in running now. And it's grown into one of the largest majors in the College of Business. And in 2013, 22% of the graduates will be OTM majors. And during the last 2 years, we're able to get 100% placement for our students within 30 days of their graduation. So first things first, there is a huge employment potential for this, and we will listen from the industry experts as to why that is the case. Number two, what kind of classes will you take? I mean, you will take a mix of classes in operations management and information systems. For instance, what does operations management involve? What does IT or information technology management involve? I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say that you have somebody that you know is a doctor and they would like to set up a clinic. And when you're setting up clinic, you'd like to get new patients, and once you get the patients, you'd like to manage the appointments, and then once the doctor sees them, you've got to manage the record and then save the records and send them reminders. So if you think about the kind of processes that are involved, then you got to find new patients, and then for figuring out appointments, you can create a system to manage the appointments. For saving all that medical records, you can use the system to save the records and store it securely. So these are all, operations management involves all these processes, and IT management involves using some kind of information systems to do things effectively. And you can scale this up to, what companies do, like Walmart. Walmart basically does not, create anything, does not produce anything. What it does is supply chain. So it interacts with a lot of vendors, gets their goods and then puts them in their shelves. And then look at Apple. What does Apple do? What Apple does is it creates these products like iPad and iPhone. And it also manages a huge supply chain. And then think about all those thousands of vendors across the world that come together to have these great products assembled in China. So this is all what it involves. I mean, this great operations that you do to manage, create products and manage the services, and IT management in which you have the system to support whatever you do more effectively. That's the idea of OTM in a nutshell. Well, the next thing is the kind of courses that you take. And again, you take courses which are kind of a mix of operations and IT management. In operations, you take courses in supply chain management and then inventory management, operations for comparative advantage, and on the IT side you take courses in system analysis and design, database management. So we will provide you with courses that will give you a mix of operations management and IT management, and it's finally up to you as to what kind of careers that you will be. There are a variety of careers that are available, such as on the technical side, you could become a business systems analyst or a database administrator. Those are the kind of things. And on the operations side, you could become an inventory specialist and supply chain manager, those kind of careers that are available. And why should someone major in this discipline? Well, if you're interested in business problem solving, if you think that you're analytical, you'd like to think about things in terms of systems, in terms of processes, and how to add value and how to do things more effectively, this is the kind of major that will be interesting. Second, why shouldn't someone major in this discipline? If you do not have interest in problem solving, interest in trying to understand the connection between business and technology, or how to improve things and how to add value to processes, probably may not be the right kind of major. So what we are looking is somebody who has the technical knowledge concerning how operations and information systems work, and who can make that connection, and who can be a valuable resource to both technical side of the company and management side, who can understand and speak both the languages quite efficiently, are the people who are most sought after in the industry. And what do you think is one of the biggest misperceptions regarding the discipline? Well, I can tell you that one of the biggest misperceptions is a lot of jobs are being outsourced to India and China. Well, if I do major in OTM, and if my job is going to be outsourced, what will I do in the future? Well, it turns out that during the last 7 years, when the US unemployment rate is about 8.5%, 9%, the unemployment rate in IT and operations management has been about 4.5%. So that tells you something, that the kind of jobs that are being outsourced to India and China are the kind of jobs like programming, some kind of systems maintenance, which are the kind of jobs that you would find at the lower end of developing systems. At the higher end, you have people like business analysts, somebody who designs systems, system architects. The jobs that add value remain in market. And the jobs that are at the lower end are being shipped out. The forecast for jobs in IT and operations management remains positive and remains strong. And the graduates start at around $45,000 to $50,000 on an average. And in the mid-career, the average tends to be around $89,000 to $95,000 depending on the profession. So the outlook looks pretty strong for jobs in this area. So with that introduction, I'm going to pass it to the rest of the panel, and they will tell you more about their career path, a bit of their background, where they work, and about what you can expect from this field and the kind of work that you will do in this industry. So I'll pass it on to Becky Weddle. She's from Nike.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm Becky Weathern. I graduated class of 08 with a marketing and management degree. As being mentioned, OTM wasn't an option when I was here at school. So I chose marketing and management, and in hindsight, now being in the job market for about 5 years, I can tell you that if I would have had this option, I would have selected this major when I was in school. That being said, I kind of accidentally ended up in this realm, because when I did graduate, I definitely intended to be in marketing. And I'll kind of briefly go on my journey, because hopefully you guys can learn something from my experience. But when I graduated, I did not have a job, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was kind of applying for anything that I thought was even reasonably in my realm of qualification, and I was not focused. And needless to say, I didn't get very far. So I kind of refocused my search, and I really thought about companies that I was passionate about and that I would want to work for. And Nike was at the top of my list. So using my connections through UP, I got an informational interview, and that led to another informational interview and more networking there, until I had the opportunity to work at Nike on a temporary contract for 1 month doing data entry. So definitely not what I wanted, but it was an opportunity to get into Nike, and I jumped at it. And I ended ended up at Nike Retail. So in the buying department that supports the North American Nike factory stores. So if any of you guys have been to the store on MLK, that is a store that my team supports. So started out there 1 month. Eventually that became 18 months of contract work. So I wasn't a Nike employee, but I was working at Nike through a temp agency. And then ultimately that parlayed into a full-time opportunity at Nike, one of the best days of my career. That then parlayed into promotion into allocation, which is the area I'm currently supporting. And now I manage the department. So I have a team of people, and that team allocates all of the apparel that goes to all of the North American factory stores, 30 million units a year. And last year, we collected over $500 million in revenue just in apparel in 160 stores. So when you think about OTM, you definitely, at least I didn't think about my job as an OTM job. So a little bit about allocation. So imagine buying. So Nike Retail has a group of buyers whose job it is to look at all of the products Nike creates and figure out what we want to sell at our Nike-owned retail locations. So the buyers select the line and then hands off the buy to allocation. And it's mine and my team's job to take the units that were bought and the styles and figure out for 160 stores what styles are going to go to what store, at what time, in what quantities, down to the size level. So we are essentially assorting and merchandising 160 stores and making sure when you walk in, you as the consumer can find what you want from a sports lens perspective, from a silhouette perspective, from a price point perspective, and from a size perspective. What goes into this job is a lot of analysis, but also a lot of merchandising and a lot of passion for product. So it's actually kind of a hybrid of, to a certain extent, marketing, but also this OTM major. So in order to be successful as an allocation analyst and in Nike Retail, you definitely have to have that critical thinking base that you mentioned. Excel skills are certainly a plus because the majority of the analysis that you'll be doing is in Excel. And I would say that's true of any job, regardless of the major that you choose. Excel is basically the system of record for the majority of companies that I've been exposed to. So the more you know about Excel, the more competitive you will be when you graduate. And, please add anything that you want. But so that was something that I didn't necessarily have graduating with marketing, that I had to learn, that I would have learned a lot more coming from the OTM major. So Tech Ops, a class that I believe is required, regardless of your major, was a class I learned a great deal of Excel skills in. So definitely focus on that. But also just critical thinking, the ability to communicate effectively about what you've analyzed. So we look at spreadsheets, but we also look at product. We talk to consumers, we talk to the store teams, and we also work with the supply chain. So after we've made our analysis decision and we create a purchase order, what are the steps that that purchase order takes in a system to get to the DC, to ship out of the DC, to be received in the store, and ultimately to make it to the floor. So those are all things that my team manages to make sure that we are maximizing speed to market, as well as making sure there's no holdups in the supply chain from a flow perspective. So for example, right now with the hurricane in the Northeast, that's something that my team is managing from a flow perspective for the stores that are affected with flooding and where the employees are not able to get to the stores. And obviously consumers are not shopping in that region right now because of the devastation. So we are reassessing our flow to that market to make sure that we do the right thing for those stores, as well as realizing that the supply chain isn't moving in that area. So that is one of the things that my team is responsible for monitoring and adapting to. And in 1 week, I see the impact of that decision on sales and how Nike product comes to life in the stores. So I'm very close to the consumer and to the market. It's really exciting to be able to make a decision and feel confident in that decision, and then to see the impact you're making to the bottom line. You have a lot of ownership in this type of role, and that's really exciting. And you definitely feel that you're making a difference to the success of the company, but also to the consumer, which is really great. What do I like most? I like my company. I love the company. I love the people I work with. But I love the analytical part of the job. And I would just tell you guys that when I graduated, I didn't think I would like that at all. I thought I wanted to be in marketing. I did not enjoy my accounting classes. I'll just be honest. It wasn't the professor's fault. They were wonderful classes, but I was not interested in accounting or finance. So I thought until I graduated and actually got a job, and I realized that process-oriented thinking and problem solving was something I really enjoyed and that I was good at. And so, don't limit yourself thinking that information systems might not be something you're interested in, because there's a lot of different areas you can get into with this major. And I'll also say, as a hiring manager, what I'm looking for are people who have analytical ability, critical thinking skills, who have a point of view and are confident in their ability to make business decisions, and who, as I mentioned, have that Excel base. So all very important things that I feel you guys would get at this major. With that, I think I'm good.
Thank you. And we have,
So show of hands, how many people are about 50% sold on OTM right now? Show of hands. So we've got a lot of marketing to do here, right? So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I want to give you an idea of what you can do with this career. So in 1974, I graduated from University of Portland. My first degree was in life science. I worked in research up at OHSU for a couple of years and decided to go back to school at University of Portland in computer applications management and clinical sciences. Now, the computer applications management was the OTM of the day when I came out of the UP. From there, I went to be assistant analyst in healthcare. So the thing about this career, you can actually move OTM skills across multiple industries. So I was in healthcare for about 18 years, on and off, between hospitals in Minneapolis, hospitals in Saudi Arabia. Yes, you can actually take this career overseas. Because most organizations, be they private sector, public sector, have operations in technology management. So when one field is down, other fields may be up. From there, I also went to work for the military, so defense systems. So in Saudi Arabia in particular, ran the Saudi automated logistics system for the Royal Saudi Air Force and the U.S. Air Force. So teams of 200 staff in Saudi, 100 staff in Sunnyvale, California, doing military logistics. Came back to the States, worked for Hughes Aircraft Company as their computer services manager for the corporate offices of Hughes in Westchester, California. So now I've moved from healthcare to defense to aerospace, all under the OTM umbrella. Then I decided to go back to Saudi. Let me turn this off right quick. And went to work for their international airports. So I ran IT systems, operation systems for Jeddah, Dhahran, and Riyadh, the capital. So back and forth to Saudi on 3 different assignments, international opportunities with OTM. When I came back to the States in Portland, decided to apply for positions that are at the senior executive level. And my first position was actually with the state of Oregon as a chief information officer for the employment department. I told them I would be there for 2 years because I was still building that OTM career at the executive level. Then I went to become the CIO for the Multnomah County, the largest county in Oregon right here in Portland. went to work back in healthcare at Providence Health Systems, now became this chief technology officer for our 8 hospitals and our 33 clinics. Again, multiple industries, all with applications, computer applications, or IT infrastructure, able to move your jobs to multiple organizations. After that, became the CIO for the Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT. So I was their CIO for 7 years. Again, applications management and infrastructure. Now I run my own business. So I've left the private and public sector for the entrepreneurial realm. So today I run as CEO Airship Technologies Group. We're design and manufacture for unmanned aerial vehicles. And if you look at what's happened to the U.S. national airspace, it's just being opened up for UAVs. So this career, if you decide to take it on, gives you some mobility. It gives you the opportunity to move between industries, still delivering the same value to these organizations. But you can also take OTM to the entrepreneurial sector if you're really thinking about your own business. So I want to leave that with you.
Okay, there's a couple of seats up. Don't be afraid, we won't mind. So, I'm Kyle Jennings, like I was introduced. I'm from Craft Brew Alliance, which means nothing to anybody in the room, probably. However, the names Whitmer Brothers, Brentwood, and Conan drew in May. People in here probably don't appreciate it. So, I am the Senior Director of Supply Chain. So, though I have a technology side, the breadth of my job covers almost everything. It deals remotely with getting product made and delivered. So a little bit about background. Again, supply chain didn't exist when I got out of school. We were both early. To give that in context, my IT courses were key punch. And so that's how far back that goes. There really was not a strong correlation with that in business at the time. And so I got an international business degree. That was where I thought I wanted to go. I found out really fast that there weren't many jobs in that time back in the late 70s. So grew into a little bit more broader management and started in purchasing actually. And again, we grew and grew. I again started with education, worked at a university in Texas. Went from that to Kraft Foods, and then Pillsbury Company, and little known fact that nobody else up here I'm sure can share. At one point in time in my career, the highlight of my career was being a Pillsbury Doughboy. Physically, I was, yeah. So the career, you can go anywhere that you want to go. I did 11 years of consulting in supply chain systems with companies anywhere from Walmart to Chevron, Cigna Healthcare. And then a few years ago, a friend of mine said, hey, this mid-sized company in Portland, Oregon is looking for a supply chain guy. What do you think? And as you might can tell, I'm not from Oregon, so it was not on my list, but there was a lot of opportunity here, some good people came in and interviewed, and one of the things that I've told the folks here at UP is part of my staff, a good part of my staff came from this program. So what I wanted to tell you is I have three now, I did have 4 because one was promoted on, that came out of UP in the last 4 years. That came with, I think, the skills that were needed for me to put them in a job that they directly interface with some of our customers. They directly control inventory within our building and then for wholesalers all over the country. They manage freight, which is extremely expensive. So the skill set that they came out with fit very well. Not saying they had everything they needed. There is not one school that knew everything, but they had more than you'll get in a lot of other institutions. The one thing I would tell you to try to grasp in any of your courses beyond the basics. And I think the remark about Excel is well deserved, because even though we have great systems now and they cost millions of dollars, you always revert to Excel. And there's times when you got to go out and need something fast. The one thing that it's very hard for any class to teach is communication skills. And I will tell you what I've learned from especially either undergraduates or graduates coming into work is that's the hardest thing to teach. So do as much as you can in presentations, one-on-one communication and practicing, because that's something that if you can do that coming out of school, whether it's an interview or even a first meeting, if you can communicate well, whether you have 100% of the skills or not, you'll win over the other people, because there are a number of students that come out of school now that just don't have the ability to talk one-on-one. And if you come out and you act like you know what you're talking about, you've won more than half of the battle. So come into it that way. The other thing I'd say is, at least from my area, and I think I heard this, if you're not detail-oriented and you don't, you're not driven to really want to make changes and drive production forward and drive processes forward, may not be the best career path. What I look for people within my group is I want people that are, one, committed, but two, driven. They don't, they want to be in this job, they want to learn it, and they want to know, okay, once I learn this, what am I going to do, and how can I make change effective? I don't know that I have anybody in my group of how many I've got now that is bored. Everything's a new day. It's all challenging. We ship beer all over the country, as well as about 15 export countries. So, different environment, very difficult environment, very competitive environment. But it's there's not one day that goes by that I will tell you that it's not purely data-driven. So, you've got to have a system background that build into that people skills for communication.
Great. Okay, we're now open it up for questions. We have about 30 minutes for our panelists for questions about the major, any one of their careers, anything that makes sense or think about as for a student thinking about this. So, please.
How widespread is the national UAV?
Well, the National UAV program is just getting started. You might know that it was actually against the law to fly UAVs in the continental U.S. Without being certified through FAA, and you have to have some real good requirements to do so, except for the military. You'll start to see with a new law that was signed with the Defense Appropriations Act of 2012, you'll start to see about 30,000 UAVs over the next few years. These UAVs have to be small, 4.4 pounds to 25 pounds. And they're only to be sold to first responders. So law enforcement, fire departments, search and rescue. The kind of stuff that's happening in New York City right now, New Jersey, they would definitely love to have UAVs to be able to see where all the hot spots are and the trouble spots.
We have a distinguished panel here today, so I think you might want to use their expertise, insights to ask questions and get some good answers.
What other classes, say you are not an OTM major, but what classes would you recommend as electives to maybe supplement that not having a major as OTM?
Well, it really depends on your interests. So let's say that you're in marketing, and some of the courses that you might be interested in OTM side are e-commerce, and some days in accounting or finance. They might be interested in project management. Project management is a course that we offer. No matter what your major is, everybody is involved in projects and you want to do well, so project management is a good course. So it really depends on what your major is and what your interests are, and we have courses I'm sure that you can take as electives.
How much background characteristics do you need to pursue this
Well, not much, to be frank. So, you decide about the major in your sophomore year, and what is really important is your willingness to work hard and willingness to learn. And I think that's probably the same thing for other majors too. But in this major, we're looking for people who have those critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and who enjoy being in those situations and do well. So that's, it's not like a computer science major, and we're not asking you to design compilers or write code for Yahoo or Google. That's not the idea at all. And this is out and out business major, but you will take a number of courses in, let's say, database or networking, that you have the fundamentals so that you understand what a technical team inside a company does, and you understand what they do, and you also at the same time interact with the business users. So that's the answer.
I also add, it has to do with your passion too. So if there is a passion for technology, how many of you have cell phones today? Raise your hand. Everybody's got a cell phone. So it's not just the consumerization of the technology. It's, could you make a career out of how to best deploy technology within your organization, or make use of technology for business purposes? So that's the other thing I would say. Just don't look at OTM as an acronym, but think of where your passions lie, and do you have a natural gravitation for how you would like to use technology in your career, from a career standpoint.
What type of a minor would any of you recommend for somebody who's thinking about doing an OTM major?
Well, again, I think it's very subjective. It depends on what you want to do in the long run. You would like to supplement that with entrepreneurship. Just like Ben mentioned, that after having a long career in different industries, so finally he has become an entrepreneur, and that too a successful one, and then they started building wonderful products now. So entrepreneurship would be a good minor, but again, that's only an example. That really depends on your interests. So it could be accounting, it could be global business. It really depends on what you would like to do in the future. So.
I'll add to it. From speaking and hearing feedback on communication skills, marketing may give you communication skills that complement the OTM major. So when you leave, not only do you have this critical thinking skill set and analysis skill set, but you also are able to communicate effectively, which again is so important. So that may be a minor that might interest you. I participated in the eScholars program, and I will say the entrepreneurship major and minor was, again, not available. So much has changed in 4 years, it's crazy. But that was an amazing experience, and I think I learned, because I didn't do OTM, I learned a lot about that critical thinking, independent thinking, and analytical skills that you need in order to be successful as an entrepreneur that I'm able to use in my job today. So that may be, I agree, I think that's another area where you learn an incredible amount about business and the fundamental concepts of business, but that you're also able to get that independent analysis skills that are so important no matter where you go.
So I'd add one thing to this also. Business is done local, but it's also done globally. So if you're looking for a minor, why not minor in a language? Be it Spanish or Chinese. Think about those emerging markets that are emerging right now, but for the future where they'll be in your seeking jobs, wanting to add value to businesses.
And the last one, and this was from personal experience, that I would recommend is organizational behavior management. I mean, if you have a desire at any given time to manage, to supervise, to lead, it's really critical to learn some of those basic skills. I will tell you, you'll learn a lot more along the way than trial by error, but as long as the basics, that will help you at least get started. Frankly, most of you will want that. lead, and guide people, manage people, and it helps set that foundation to go on.
What about this side? They've got all the questions over here. What about over here?
Okay.
How do you stay current on your technology knowledge? Do the firms provide you with training, or do you do it all on your own, trying to stay current?
So I'll start. It's a little both. It depends on the company or with one. The company I'm with now is not necessarily technology centric, so it's very much self-driven. But I go at least twice a year to either seminar. I just spoke at a conference in New Orleans in September on a technology platform we've installed. And I encourage the people that work for me to do the same thing, especially the managers, to take at least one or two either seminars, courses, go to conferences, something, so they can interact. It's really important for me, or anybody I work with, to have information coming from outside, what's happening, what's new, what's exciting, because things have changed so much year over year, you almost have to do that, so that would be mine.
Well, most companies, organizations have tuition reimbursement. So think about the company putting you through your master's program. So when I left Portland to take a job in Los Angeles at Hughes Aircraft Company, one of the things I parlayed was a master's degree at the college of my choice, if they would pay for that, if I would sign on the dotted line. And they did, so I went to UCLA to get that MBA. And so think about what you want to do from an education standpoint, but how can your companies help pay for that, especially after you graduate from your bachelor's?
So in my experience, all the systems that I needed to do my day-to-day job, I knew literally not even how to log on when I started day one. So at the time we used a retail like purchase order management system called Island Pacific, and today that program we've went live with SAP, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of or will soon see more of if you join this major. So that program I had zero skill set in. I did not know anything coming out of school, but those type of things you're able to learn very quickly. So in my company, I received the training on how to work in that system, and it took a few months before I was fluent in the system. So I would say from a system standpoint, don't let that hold you back. Thinking that you have to know multiple computer systems to be effective in a job coming out of college, you don't. Again, I just go back to Excel, and that's extremely self-driven. Google, YouTube, play around with what you can do. But from a system standpoint, I guess don't let it intimidate you. You'll receive the training you need, in my experience.
I think what this program does, if you take OTM, you will have all the fundamentals that are required for you to learn better later on. We cannot give you skills to be successful in every job that you'll get after this, but what we can give you is a fundamental set of knowledge, fundamental knowledge that is required for you to learn on your own later on. And this is required for all of you. You'll be reading a lot of different material, a lot of books and a lot of papers later on. But that's all needed for you to be successful in your job. So if you have good knowledge base, good GPA, good interviewing skills, those things will enable you to get a job. But once you get a job, you have to be self-driven, as Ricky suggested, and you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to do well in this job? And figure out what you need to read from, where you need to read from and learn and do well in those jobs.
How much would you say like getting an MBA is going to open up doors for you and like give you more opportunities in OTM, or like would you wait a couple years after college and then entertain the idea? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to give it to Ben because he has direct experience with the subjects.
Well, I didn't get my MBA until about 7 years after I graduated, so I wanted to get a lot of work experience under my belt first. I think I could relate more to some of the material we were learning because I had those extra 7 years. Now others go to school right after their bachelor's and get their MBA, and they can be just as successful over time. But it's not just the reason I got the MBA was so I could expand on my business side. Most of my early career was considered more technical. When I started as a programmer, systems analyst, managed teams of technologists. And so I really wanted to do something that was different, that would put me above my competition when I competed for jobs and roles. So the MBA was a natural for me. It was also doing presentations and speaking. And so I made it a point to be able to speak on technology, business, and diversity as a part of my career. But also sitting on boards. So these could be any boards, from healthcare to aerospace and defense. Just so I could really start to understand the plethora of different business that was going on at the board level. So the MBA is a piece of that. It can't be the only thing that gets you to where you want to go, but that was a strategy. And I'd add one more thing. I created a plan for my career. So mine was computer applications management, which is the OTM of today. But I mapped out where I wanted to be over time, which meant I was going to see a lot of drive-by opportunities, and I'd always have to check if those opportunities kind of map to my long-term goals. So if your short-term goals can map to your long-term, you can get to where you want to be faster. So I highly recommend that.
I do not a lot, but a great deal of hiring. So I would say an MBA, it may open the door. It will open the door, maybe it will hire faster than just an undergraduate degree. But I will tell you, if I have an MBA student or a graduate in front of me, and I have an undergraduate in front of me, once they're there, it's not, that is not my deciding factor. My deciding factor is how well do you communicate, how well do I think you know what you're talking about. Are you able to carry on a really strong conversation? And then do you have potential? I'll be honest with you, I have continue to know a lot of MBA students and some doctoral students that have graduated. Frankly, that I would put them right next to many of my undergrad graduates that toe to toe. I mean, the degree might get you in the door in some companies faster than others. It most likely will not land you the job. We have a quiet crowd behind us.
What other questions are out there?
So I would also say, if you guys want to have some one-on-one time with us, you can always contact us. I'm sure we'd be happy to relay stories or ideas or information to you if you need that.
You know, I'll be running for a few minutes. If anybody has a question that sometimes is intimidating to ask in front of a large crowd.
So I believe that you're all freshmen, and we understand that you have a lot of time to think and decide about different majors. But I can tell you that you have several different majors that are there for you to make a choice. You have accounting, finance, entrepreneurship, and OTM, and all that. Think about what your interest lies, where your interest lies, and what your skills are. Are you interested in problem solving? Are you interested in methodical thinking? Are you savvy with investments? Are you entrepreneurial oriented? What kind of personality do you have? Second, what kind of jobs are you interested in doing in the short run and in the long run? And number three, what kind of potential do you have in finding a job? And for instance, I'd like to ask Becky. Becky, you graduated with a degree in marketing. When you graduated, how did you find the market for marketing? And can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. Well, first of all, I graduated at not an easy time to begin with, in 2008. My degree, having a bachelor's degree definitely got me in the door at Nike. Without having an undergrad degree, I definitely wouldn't have even been qualified to apply, even for an entry-level position there. but marketing was not the piece that got me my first job, and it's definitely a more competitive field. I think partly because it's a little bit more vague and not as directive. So there's, while you get a lot of foundational skills from marketing, what I actually ended up using in my day-to-day career was not from my marketing classes as much as it was from my supply chain and tech ops classes. So definitely, University of Portland in general was really the reason I have the career that I have, not necessarily my major. So I will say that.
I think getting a job in any area is very competitive. You got to have good knowledge, good GPA, you got to do well in interviews. So it doesn't matter finance, accounting, marketing, any major is very competitive. It's tough to get a job. But I think it all depends on how well you do, what your interests are, what your skills are, and then finally make a choice based on that. And we're always going to be here for you, and I'm here. And if you have any questions about OTM at any point during the next 2 years before you decide, I'm here to help you. So you can email me directly. If you want to come and meet me in my office, I'll be happy to talk one-on-one with you and then clarify if you have any questions. Okay, with that, I think we'll end. Okay, one more.
Sorry. Really quick, okay. I just want to say while I have you guys here that 4 years is a long time and you're going to learn a lot and it's going to be an incredible experience. Take advantage of it and take advantage of the time you're here. But I will say networking is one of the most important things you can do while you're here, even as a freshman. And so I'm more than happy to network with you guys if you're interested, but take advantage of the opportunities you have to network in the community, and UP is amazing at that, especially if you're interested in the Portland metro area. So take advantage, it's never too early. Keep the relationships you have, even as freshmen, because that is ultimately, I think, what's going to help you when you're ready to get a job in a few years, no matter what your major will be.
Well, thank you very much.